Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rei-Lin, and I'm finally back. Sorry for being a little bit gruff on the voice. I'm getting over the man flu, so you might hear some gruffy voice, some sniffling, and maybe a cough or two in the background. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time. I also apologize for seeming to have disappeared for a few weeks. My job is extremely busy for the foreseeable future up until about the end of April before me being on the road and unable to record finally starts to slow down just a little bit so that I can be back in town at home to do more recording of videos and audio and get more YouTube videos uploaded. I do apologize for that. I did recently get a new laptop, which should actually be strong enough and more powerful than my old one, enough to where I can record some videos and they won't look like garbage when I do so, and I'll be able to hopefully record while I'm on the road, although the quality might take a small dip. Obviously, being at home in a nice quiet atmosphere versus being on the road in a hotel room tends to make the quality of your audio a little less than desirable. But if worse comes to worse, I don't really like having to not upload a video for several weeks in a row, and I do apologize. Anyway, let's hop back in. What's been going on in the world, however, there's a few games that have come out recently, and I want to talk about those in just a minute. But to get back to Armored Warfare, the biggest news really is that recently My.com basically fired Obsidian as the developer and moved everything in-house to finish the game and do whatever they want. I've heard that there were some kind of tensions between what My.com wanted, which is basically Armored Warfare to be a World of Tanks clone and nothing more than that, so they could cash in on the success of World of Tanks. And Obsidian was like, no, we can do all this PvE stuff, we can do all this cool stuff, we can really set ourselves apart. And apparently My.com didn't really give a shit one way or the other. I don't know that that rumor is true. I don't know that PvE is going to be removed from Armored Warfare in the future. I hope not, because that's kind of the whole niche that Armored Warfare really had, besides global operations, was the PvE content that you always see me playing, since I don't bother with the PvP at all. The game is just not doing as well as I would hope that Armored Warfare would do. I mean, World of Tanks is pretty much still the main tank game that everyone's going to go to, despite all their frustrating problems that Wargaming has. It still came out first. It still did a lot of the tanks better, and the PvP is obviously good or bad depending on your perspective of PvP in that game. And Armored Warfare was offering the PvEers something they could do without worried about dumb teams or artillery or, you know, whatever excuses for not liking PvP that would come out of people's brains, even my own. I'm a very sore loser when it comes to PvP. It upsets me, it frustrates me, and I just don't want anything to do with it in general. Whether I'm playing with friends or not, it's just generally not a very enjoyable experience, so I just don't do it. But to hear that Obsidian was kind of let go from the project itself, and to hear rumors that, PvE may not be a priority anymore and it may just become a World of Tanks clone, kind of saddens me. I'm hoping that that's not really true and that they do seem to put some more effort into the PvE, getting more maps, getting these AI tanks to be a little bit more realistic, more humanish if you want, using better tactics or what have you. Global Operations is going to expand. They've added a new map to that. And they did make an announcement recently. For the foreseeable future, they had toyed with the idea of changing the artillery to almost more or less just like it is in World of Tanks. Long reloads, huge damage per shot, getting rid of how they generally get rid of the illumination rounds, keep some smoke rounds, or vice versa. Just because they didn't like the artillery. Most people don't like artillery, whether they're playing against them or using them. So in response to that, what they're going to do with Armored Warfare, at least for now, is they're just removing the artillery from PvP altogether, and they will allow you to play artillery in PvE until they redesign how they want artillery to be. But for now, they just completely said, okay, we're just going to take it out of PvP altogether. You're no longer going to be able to pick it or use it in PvP whatsoever, just to get rid of people crying about artillery. Obviously, if you hate artillery, this is a great thing for you. And if you enjoyed PvPing with artillery, well, there's still PvE. You're just not going to have the artillery game to play quite as much with the intensity of knowing that the other enemy artillery is another person. So there is that. I know they brought out a couple of package deals lately. I didn't bother even going over them in any kind of detail in another video because they were basically the Typhoon 2 and the RDF light tank with a different paint job on it. Obviously, if you wanted those tanks, you could have read my review on the regular Typhoon 2 and the RDF light tank that I've already done to see if you think they were worth it, because outside of the skin, they're 100% identical to the tanks that they've already released. So if you like the paint job, you would have picked them up. If not, then obviously you would have passed. It looks like they were trying to have a St. Patrick's Day tank on the store that you could buy, but they removed it because apparently it was bugged to get into much lower tiers of fighting than it should have. So until that is fixed, they said, oh, whoop, nope, can't use that tank, and removed it from the website for now. I'll be doing a review on it as soon as they put it back in the store, because it did look like a pretty good tank, although I could already tell from people that got to either play it or buy it when it first hit that it wasn't that impressive of a tank. But we'll get back to it later. As soon as it surfaces, again, I will own it and I will tell you all about it when the time comes. And that's pretty much all that's been going on for Armored Warfare. We're just still waiting on patch 0.19, the Balance 2.0 patch, and hopefully the improvements and the changes that they're going to make to the game as a whole will be interesting enough that it might pull in some new players. It might bring back some old players that were kind of huffing and puffing about the problems in PvP, especially. At this point, I'm skeptical. I'm hopeful, but I'm skeptical, because at this point the population of Armored Warfare is just not that great, and it may never recover from what it's already gone through. It's still a great game. I still have a lot of fun, but I just don't see that it could ever put something into the game that is so mind-numbingly awesome that everyone just quits World of Tanks immediately to rush over and play Armored Warfare. I just don't see it happening. There's so much nostalgia when it comes to some of the tanks in World of Tanks that people have played World of Tanks only to get a particular tank from a particular time period or nation, so like the Tigers, for example. So I hope Armored Warfare will improve itself and continue to improve itself once the new balance patch is out. I hope that it really does improve the game in all aspects, but until it comes out and they finally release it and we finally get to play it, we just won't know for sure. If it doesn't really help the game out much, I may not continue to do much on Armored Warfare except for the occasional premium tank, because, you know, people that do play it, I don't want you spending money needlessly, so I at least want to put out an opinion on whether these tanks are good, because, you know, it is real money they're talking about, so I'll continue to do that for the foreseeable future. In other news, Revelation Online has hit its open beta. No more wipes after this point, so at this point it's just go ahead and go to the website, sign up, get in the game, have some fun, and that's pretty much how Revelation Online is going. It's very good. It's a mixture of Blade and Soul with a little Terror Online, with a little Ion. I still say, after even doing my minute review, that it is really fun. The classes are really diverse. They're very specific on their roles that they play. You know, a tank is a tank, the healer is the healer, DPS is the DPS, the hybrids are the hybrids. There are new classes that will be coming. Not too much later. I know Assassin is on the menu for coming out here within the next few months with any luck. And overall, it's just a very polished game. I mean, it's still a Chinese MMO, but it's still Asian in general, so you have to worry about, you know, getting to the end game and it becoming a lot of a grinder, as most of them are. But there are limitations to how much you can grind in a day. You have different statistics and resources that govern how much you can gather or how much you can cook or how much you can craft per day on a character for character basis. And there's limitations on how many dungeons you can run and what kind of difficulties you can do. So overall, it kind of forces you after a couple of hours of play every day that's all you can do for the day, and you can log off and go do something else. It doesn't become like an endless grind like, say, World of Warcraft, where you can just sit there and do stuff all day long and all day long and all day long with very few limits on resources and things like that. Obviously, it's not perfect. It still has a lot of things that need to be translated into English. I was hoping it would be a little bit better. From the closed beta that I played, the English translation has improved. They have added a lot more, but it's still definitely far from perfect. On the higher level quests and dialogues that happen are not in English at all. You can still trudge your way through it, and it's still very playable, but again, it's completely not localized yet. So once it gets fully localized, I think it'll be a much better, smoother experience overall. But for what it is right now, a free-to-play MMO, it does have a cash shop that's not really any kind of pay-to-win. It's mostly cosmetic or pay-to-hurry things the hell up. I think it's done pretty well in that regard. I think it's definitely worth, a look-see if you like this style of MMO in any way. It's definitely not bad at all. And then moving on, finally, the big AAA title that's came out very recently on the 7th of March was, of course, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. And I have heard that it's done very well statistically on, number of games sold, number of people that are playing, and for me in general, I really, really like the game. Now, there's a couple of caveats to liking the game. The first and foremost being, if you've played a older Ghost Recon game, it's really not the same kind of game. And if you've played anything like Grand Theft Auto 5, it's pretty much a weaker, I would say, overall, the opinion is, a dumbed-down version of that game. I haven't played either of those, so my experience with Wildlands is very positive. It runs really good. It looks fantastic, especially once you start cranking up the values on all the settings. I've had only a couple of glitches, and they're known glitches. I knew they would happen, and usually when that happens, it's my own damn fault for triggering them. But I'm sure they're going to have it all fixed. All of the hiccups and stuttering that I had when I was playing in the closed beta are just non-existent anymore. Any of the problems from the open beta that I heard about are gone, or mostly gone. I just have a lot of fun. You can play by yourself, completely by yourself. You have AI teammates, and they do a good job of either keeping you alive or doing what they need to do to help you out in a fight. They're not perfect in any way, so there are flaws to the AI system. They're not the smartest characters you're ever going to find, but sometimes they're smarter than people are that you just pug with. Again, the game isn't perfect. It does have some flaws here and there. There are some serious takes on breaking the realism and the immersion with some of the vehicles, for example, just allowing you to go up mountain sides that you would definitely not be able to do in real life. The vehicles are all very different from each other, however, but there seems to be an overabundance of helicopters in Bolivia. I didn't realize that every third man, woman, and child in Bolivia seems to own a helicopter, which obviously doesn't seem like it's that realistic, but believe me, the size of the map that you're on, it's split into different districts, and it's to drive it all would drive you crazy. Being able to fly with a helicopter over a beautiful landscape and get stuck in pretty much wherever you want to be makes a huge difference to me. I really think that they've done a very good job with the game. To me, it's been one of the smoothest launches I've ever seen for a game of its type. I haven't had any kind of server issues. I've never had any resets or just random dropouts or weird connection issues. Now, granted, I'm not playing with other people. That might make a huge difference. But as far as just loading the game up and going at it and having fun, so far I'm hooked. And I'm not even halfway through the game. And I've been playing it every day now for 2 weeks. And trying to do my best to get every single item in the game as I go along. There's tons of weapons, tons of vehicles, and if you can grab some friends, it's a lot more enjoyable. The harder difficulties are pretty hard. Obviously, one of the biggest flaws people were complaining about is, well, you can just run and gun your way through even the hardest difficulty. I mean, granted, I can see where if you're used to playing Call of Duty and Battlefield and you're a top 500 player in those kind of games and everyone on your team is just as good, you could probably go through and the AI is probably not going to be that difficult for you to defeat. If you're just a casual kind of person, maybe plays a first-person shooter every few years, doesn't really care about rushing through the game to see it all right, here and now, I think you have a lot of fun. It's probably got a good 2 to 3 months, at least 2 to 3 months of gameplay in it, especially if you're not playing it even that hardcore. I mean, like I said, I'm not even halfway through the game, and already it's been almost a month already. It's 2 weeks in, and I'm not even halfway through the game. I'm taking my time, flying around, driving around, just even looking at the scenery, taking screenshots. There are some really pretty places you can go, and it's just, overall, I think it's very well done. Is it perfect? Hell no. Is it worth $60? I wish it was more like $45, $50. $60 does seem a little steep, but at the same time, almost any freaking game that comes out these days is like $60. It's either free to play or it's $60, or it's some kind of DLC that's another $20 or what have you. I don't think it's a bad price. I mean, if you don't think you're going to get $60 worth of time out of the game, then don't buy it. Wait for it to go on sale. I got it right off the bat because when I was in the closed beta, I had a ton of fun with it. Even playing by myself, I can enjoy the game. There are some flaws, like I said, but I don't think that the small hiccups here and there that I have with the AI or summoning a helicopter from the rebels and it ends up stuck in a wall, I don't think those are major issues that are game-breaking. They're annoying when they happen, but I'm sure they'll fix them very quickly. I haven't read, I try not to read a lot of forums because, forums can be very negative when it comes to games, especially if people don't like it. I know that there were a lot of people that thought Wildlands was going to be different than what it ended up being, and that kind of pissed off a lot of people. I'm not sure what they were expecting. But anyway, if you're into a Grand Theft Auto 5 kind of game, if that's something that interests you, if you have a lot of fun or did have a lot of fun playing that game, it's kind of like that, except now you're going around and doing a lot of stuff for America. Your American task force going in there, and you're pretty much taking on the entire Bolivian army to rid Bolivia of a lot of bad drug cartel people. So if that's something that sounds cool and sounds fun, go for it. It is, like I said, it does have its flaws, but overall, I think those flaws can be ironed out very quickly, and any problems that anyone else has with it can be ironed out as they go along. But for a very quick, easy base game that came out and hasn't had a bunch of problems, a bunch of server downtimes and things like that, I think Wildlands really does very well in that regard. But anyway, I'm just going to leave the video off there. I'm going to start doing some more videos on Revelation Online and Wildlands once Armored Warfare finally gets its second wind and brings out the balance patch. I'll be going back to that. Anytime there's a premium tank that comes out in Armored Warfare, I'm going to be talking about it in a video. But for now, I'm trying to keep up with some of the newer stuff that's coming out. There's a few games that have come out that are only on console, so I can't cover those, but Wildlands definitely has some content that I can cover. And I throw it out to all of you. If you have something you want to see in Revelation Online, maybe I can do a guide for the characters that I'm playing. I can maybe help you out in Wildlands if there's questions, like where something is or how to locate something, or, oh, I can't do this one mission, how did you do it? Because you can replay all the missions in Wildlands. I could redo the mission and do a video on it to show you how it's done, or at least how I went about getting it done. And might help out some people. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Armor Warfare going to make it once the balance patch comes out? Do you think Revelation Online is too or is it something that you really enjoy? And of course, Wildlands, what's your opinion? Do you think it's just a Grand Theft Auto 5 done worse, or as good, or is it better? Leave something down in the comments, and we can get a conversation going. But that is going to do it for this video. I'll be back with more content as soon as I can. Like I said, work is keeping me extremely busy and on the road lately. I got another 4 weeks or so before it calms down a little bit for a while. And then I'll really be pumping out some videos after that. At least for the foreseeable future, that is my plan. And yeah, leave a comment. If you like the video, please press the like button down below. That it does help out my channel. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel, you can click down at the bottom of the screen right now. That'll get you all the latest updates when I do put up a new video. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys and gals. Take care. I'll talk to you all next time.